guys, welcome back to episode. This is 10 of the Coachcast.
So 10, what a vibe.
Today's another very special. Every episode's a special fucking episode when you've got Mikey and I here. So today we have another guest on. So basically, after this intro, I'm probably going to shut up for about 45 minutes, and Mikey's going to fangirl. So
Jackson has no interest in this one whatsoever. Paul Kilroy, his name is, representing the Irish community. Welcome.
Thank you very much, guys.
Thanks for coming on the show,
already.
Yeah. Thanks for coming on the show, bro. Lovely to have you. Again, I don't know Paul. Mikey does.
Yes. So Paul and I go way back. Before we skip too far ahead, Paul does his own boot camps, and I used to run with Paul. Fuck, how long ago was that? I would have been
A couple of years ago, yeah, maybe
4 years ago.
Yeah,
Really?
Yeah.
Oh wow!
3-4 years ago. Yeah. This was right. This is before and during my tradie days. So, kind of Paul was my step back into fitness.
Okay.
Yeah, that was pretty interesting. It's pretty cool.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
And you were putting out all my Irish crew to shame, even though you weren't that fit. Yeah.
I was very unfit, but it was good. Before we let's get started. Paul, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so I'm Irish. I'm 31, living in Australia 10 years. Worked in construction for 7 of those years. Probably started hating it around 5 years into that.
It's the worst fucking industry.
Yeah.
I hate it. I'm sorry if anyone's a construction worker, but I hate it.
All good comes from construction, though. It's like, yes, we hate it, and then we move on to something.
Yeah, there's two things. You either become a PT or you become a drug dealer, one or two.
Yeah, so for me, I would choose the PT route.
I'm glad we all did, as far as we're concerned.
Yeah, but I started after about 5 years. Really wanted to get out of that, and wasn't really sure how or what I wanted to do. Wasn't into my health and fitness at all ever since I was a kid, and I kind of started going down, getting myself fitter and healthier. I suppose when you're working in construction as well, you're eating crap, drinking. The head of yourself, it's just a part of the game.
Definitely
really
preach that for sure.
Yeah.
And you get very unfit, unhealthy, and then that just leads to being a bit depressed and lethargic and feeling a bit crap. So I started getting myself in shape and realized then that was what I want. That was, I suppose, what I wanted to do. And I suppose through that journey, other people had seen me getting fit and in shape, and then obviously my mindset changing and my life starting to change a bit as well.
Yeah.
And started helping and encouraging other people, and realised I really like helping other people, and then that was what gave me the ambition to kind of put myself into a PT space. And
was there like a turning point in your, like when you started working on, eventually did you get to a space you were like, fuck, something needs to change?
Yeah, there was a significant one.
Yeah.
There was probably a series of them, but I remember I was back in Ireland for a trip, and I was just back seeing my family and stuff, and all I was doing was just drinking. And the reason I was drinking so heavy was I was very, very anxious and depressed, and had these thoughts of probably, changing my career, but feeling a little bit worthless, and feeling like I couldn't, because I had dropped out of school at a very young age and felt like I hadn't got an education, and I was probably playing the victim a bit. Didn't know any better. So I was drinking very heavy back in Ireland at that point in time, and one night I just went out, and it was just like any other night out. But I don't know what it is. Maybe there must have been something in the drink I was drinking or whatever it was. But the next morning I woke up, and
that's it. And
I just felt like that I've had enough, and I gave up the booze. I decided to give up the booze and get myself in shape. I was overweight, out of shape, and give up the booze for 4 years after that. And
fuck.
Do you drink now?
I drink now, but not too much. But I went 4 straight years off it, and
wow.
I just, that next day, that after I woke up, I just went for a run, and I said I'm not going to drink anymore. I ran 5 kilometers, nearly killed me.
I think I remember we're going to get to this later on, but when you came back from that little expedition, was that your first day drinking back?
When I came back from my
cycling thing,
no, I didn't. I didn't drink. I didn't drink that day.
No,
I did. Okay. I still didn't drink until about a year after that.
Okay, right.
Yeah.
I just remember being at Could You Pav, and I can't remember if that was the moment you were like, here it is.
No, still probably on the water.
Could You Pav is a place for bad nights.
Yeah. Picking up chicks. That's really cool.
I love that.
But I went for a run and that day, and then that just led me on to, I think the next weekend my brother asked me to run a half marathon with him, and I didn't even know what a half marathon was,
Oh,
and I was
shit.
like, oh yeah, no worries. So I went and did that, and just kept going from there pretty much, and,
Yeah.
and that was it. Yeah, so
You know, construction is one of those industries that just sucks you in and takes the life out of you, literally.
It's especially like you're on your feet all day, so like you're physically working,
yeah,
and it's like hard labor. I remember when I did it, I hated it, and it's like the diet is terrible.
yeah,
The lifestyle is like you're up early, you finish late, and it's just you're
That's
always
it.
tired.
Yeah.
And all you want to do is go home and eat and sleep and drink. Like,
yeah,
that's it.
That's
And
it.
I also felt like as well, for me, it was like you're loyal to these people that don't give a shit about you, and you're like you think they're depending on you when they actually don't give a fuck. As soon as you leave, you're just a number.
Yes, yeah.
For me, it was like I just felt like I just could not leave, but they honestly couldn't give two shits. It was like,
Yeah.
and then eventually you kind of make that change. It's pretty like, I know for me it was the biggest fucking weight off my shoulders ever.
Yeah, it gives you a sense of appreciation then for what you do after that, I think, because you're not you just you come from something you really want to get out of, and look, it was fine for a good few years, had a lot of fun and all that kind of stuff, and earned a good bit of money. You do earn well
Yeah,
from it,
yeah.
but
Yeah, for
I
sure.
think there's more to life than, like you said, getting up so early in the morning, working all day, and then you've got to drive maybe an hour and a half,
Yeah.
especially in Sydney. Anyway, home, you're not home till late.
Yeah.
You've got no time to think about anything for yourself or your future or
Yeah.
your life, So
Look, I
Yeah.
think those people who do it but enjoy it, good on them. Like it's
Yeah.
for some people.
yeah, for sure. If you have a balance in it, I
Yeah.
think it's great.
Yeah.
But I think with the Irish culture here, it's all about working
Work,
as
work,
much
work,
hours
yeah.
as you can to earn as much money as you can, but you're missing out on life in the meantime,
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's,
And the culture, I think, is very unhealthy. As you said, you got you drinking all the time.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, what are we doing this weekend, boys? Oh, we're going to the pub.
yeah,
Yeah.
Like that is the immediate culture of any sort of construction industry
Yeah.
or job site. It's like,
Yeah.
what are we doing this weekend? We're going to go to the drink. We're going to go out. It's just always revolved around either, what I saw at least, gambling or drinking or
Yeah.
extracurricular activities. as
yeah,
I like to
yeah,
call it.
yeah.
Censored. There was I had one job. It was only for about a month, and I could see why people could do this. For example, it was like 7 a.m. start. By 11 o'clock, you're on a 1 hour lunch break. You finish by 3.
Yeah, yeah.
You're working with cool guys. You're making good money. It's like if you were doing that, okay, cool. You have plenty of time to go home, even have a nap, then train in the afternoon. But for myself, it was like most days I was up at 4, driving out to Blacktown
Yeah.
by 5 to get the truck, and then I'm home by 6, 7 o'clock at night, and
Yeah,
I probably had one meal from the lunch truck, and
yeah.
that was it. Like, you know what I mean? So like, I was obviously working with Tommy, so it was like a lot of Irish
Yeah,
around us as well. So
Yeah.
it's that like working mindset.
yeah. It
So
is.
if you get stuck into that, then it's definitely no good.
Yeah, look, I think if you're working in that industry, you have to be, and there's a lot of people super successful and love it and do really well at it, and I think they're very they've got a very good balance, as in the hours they want to work. They run very successful businesses in what they do, whereas they're not selling their time for money.
Yeah,
Whereas they
yeah.
have to work
Oh,
all the
look,
time to earn more money.
100%.
Yeah,
My family's in construction. My whole family's in construction.
Yeah.
Big
Yeah.
Italian family. My grandfather changed his life because of construction. Like he came here with nothing and
yeah,
built a fucking, basically like a life for himself.
yeah.
So, there's like, obviously there's, as you said, that balance, and it's just like anything, even in fitness, everything is just balance.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And then it's who you're around. If you're around the guys that are
100%,
working
yeah.
12 hours a day or 15 hours a day, of course you're going to do that. And then if you
Yeah.
don't do that, you're the odd one out.
Yeah.
So you got to just be confident enough yourself. And then if you're working in a job that it is like that, you got to go, look, that's not for me because it doesn't fit my values. My values
Yeah.
are more like time and freedom. I would rather work less and have a bit more time
Yeah.
and freedom, as opposed to the opposite end of the spectrum. It just all goes to where you fall, who you're surrounded
I
by.
love that.
Yes.
There's actually a lot of people that were probably stuck in this like I was as well. It took me 3 years to get out of that trap. Like
Yeah.
some people are probably still stuck in there.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, what I found interesting that you said is that, it's just funny because there's a very reoccurring theme going on here with yourself and a couple other guests we've had on, and even ourselves, is that, we're in a job we didn't like, for one, and I think that's a big deal there because that, so many people are in jobs they don't like, and, they think, oh, they'll be fine, but, it takes up 90% of their life, if not 95,
Yeah.
or the whole thing, and you used something like training and fitness to get you out of that.
Yeah.
And I just think it's a very important message
for
for
sure.
our audience to take home and be like, you know what, like we're all clearly trying to, everyone has a similar story here. Everyone just goes a little bit differently, and fitness is kind of like the core value of that. And it's like, if you use that, it can change your life.
Yeah, it's like the cornerstone. And I think what the reason why is because you don't have to be desperately motivated or disciplined to get up at 5 a.m. to go to a job because your boss is dependent on you or expecting you to be there, and you have to be there to be paid. So there's not that much motivation for you to do 100%. That needed, or not much discipline. But if you want to get up and go to the gym at 5 a.m. and get yourself in shape, it's you that has to motivate yourself. Yeah. And you carry that discipline and motivation forward into other areas of your life, whereas something like a big obstacle of changing your career or whatever, you know, where you feel like, oh shit, I need to be very committed to that, or very disciplined, or very motivated to do that. When you've been getting yourself in shape or going to the gym consistently and you're building those mental muscles to get your ass in gear, those challenges become an awful lot easier. So definitely a big cornerstone that helps you.
I love that. That was very well said. So going back to where you obviously fell into this cycle of drinking and whatnot, and then you got straight into some kind of training. What was that training that you first started to get into when you were like a part of the gen pop culture, general population?
Yeah, and what drew you to it as well?
And then also, what did that do for you, like mentally going forward?
Yeah, so first, like I said, I just went for a run, and again, and I'm definitely not bashing the construction industry at all. It's like everything, you know, but it's largely a bit negative, I guess. You know, if you stand out as being, you know, the guy that wants to run up mountains and stuff, you're the odd one out in a way. So, or whenever you want to make a change or something, you get a bit of jeering and that, people laughing at you, and you know,
that's anything as well.
Yeah, it's like anything. It's like, what do you want to do that for? Blah 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 blah. And then I remember going on this 5K run. It was a race it was actually a 5K running race. And just when I crossed the finish line, people were patting me on the back and going, you know, well done. And I was like, fuck, you know, no one's ever said well done for anything before in my life. So that was very resonating for me. And I was like, geez, there's different people out there that maybe support you and push you and encourage you to do a little bit better. So it wasn't so much the fitness, it was more so getting around that, because I hadn't got that, and I realized I'm going to need that in my life to move forward. So I did that 5K run, then I did a half marathon the following weekend, and I think then my time was to come back to Sydney. So I come back to Sydney, and what I started back into was I was really out of shape. And I said, I want to get a six pack. That was the.
I love it. We're back to this.
Goal, yeah. So
I love how it's like, I'm just going to go for a 5K run. I haven't done any exercise ever, and then I'm going to go do a half marathon. Yeah, and I'm still out of shape.
Yeah, well, that's
fucking still possible. Six pack.
Yeah, well, that was when I started kind of realizing, like, people were saying to me after I did the half marathon, because that was a running race. Also, they were going, "Fuck, have you been training for a while or whatever?" And I was like, "No, I just did my first run last weekend." And they're like, how the hell do you have to finish in this, you know? And I did it in a pretty good time. I think I did it in 2 hours, which wasn't bad for someone that never ran before.
Probably take me 4.
It always takes me 2 hours to do a 5K.
Yeah. And so I started realizing, you know, I've got maybe a bit of a stronger mindset than I have thought. So I came back with that goal. I said, I want to get a six pack. I want to get myself in shape. So
how are you going with that 6 pack?
Oh, ripping now. It's I got it within about 10 weeks, and I've not lost it since. It's probably 6-7 years ago. So
wow.
Yeah. So
same.
So but yeah, hired I wanted to go to the gym, didn't know what I was doing. You know, I'd never been in a gym before doing anything, so I said I need to learn, and hired a PT. And I just said, I committed to that, I think, for maybe 8 or 12 weeks or something. I just wanted them to show me everything I needed to know. And gotten just ripping good shape after 12 weeks, and ended up going to a training camp in Thailand, I think, after that 12 weeks. And
cool.
Yeah, so.
Oh, now Jackson's
I'm awake.
Doing Muay Thai and training, and I don't know if you know in Sai Thai Aid, it's a street in Phuket where all the gyms are.
Yeah.
So I went there to train at Unit 27 and ended up training in all the different Muay Thai gyms and everything else around there as well. So yeah, and then just made that recurrent thing.
Jackson's live.
I lived in Thailand.
Oh, did you?
For like 4 months in Bangkok. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I attempted attempted, being the key word, to make a career out of Muay Thai. I did it for 5 years. So
good on you.
yeah. So I lived there for about 4 months, but in Bangkok.
Right.
And I stayed at a gym there for a while, and it was good fun.
It's an awesome experience. You meet so many people there, don't you?
Yeah, it's also a good community as well.
Good community. You're around good people, and everyone's supporting you, and it's just, and no one's really heavy on the booze or stuff. I don't know, is that your experience?
Other than the locals.
Yeah, other than the locals, but everyone else is just there to train and
and
do better, I guess. It's a nice thing to be around.
Yeah, Phuket's also one of the best places to go for that, because they've become a lot more, I guess, commercialized as well, because they have more of a name for themselves. Like Tiger Muay Thai is the big one.
Yeah, Tiger is the big one,
and then even Top Team,
Phuket Top Team, and you've got Dragon.
Yeah, there's so many.
There's so many on that street.
That strip of road is just there's 20 gyms. He's got no clue what we're talking about.
Just staring at the camera. Yeah,
it's pretty good. Yeah, have you been to Bali as well, I suppose?
No, I haven't been to Bali. I really want to go though.
Yeah, Bali MMA.
Because Bali MMA is supposed to be really good.
Yeah, and that's beside CrossFit Wanderlust as well.
I did go to that one. I can improve on this one. I go to Wanderlust. That was awesome.
Yeah,
that was kind of in between my. I think when I went to Wanderlust, Marie was really into CrossFit, and I hadn't stepped foot in the gym for fucking at least a year. And then I went in there and I was like, holy shit, this is awesome. And I did a CrossFit workout and I fucking almost died.
Yeah, it's tough, isn't it?
And it wasn't even a hard CrossFit workout either. Looking back, I thought, fuck, we did some kettlebell swings and some runs.
Yeah.
And I was struggling big time.
Yeah. Take a year off, that's what's going to happen, isn't it?
Okay, where were we at before we got sidetracked?
You were training, and you started training with a PT, and then you were in Thailand for a bit. You did training there, and then so what brought you to Thailand? Were you just for a holiday, or? Yeah,
just wanted to keep continuing to get out of my comfort zone.
Oh, beautiful.
Actually, that I've jumped ahead a bit. What I did was, so I got myself in shape, and it was a big confidence thing for me. While I was working with that PT, I was a bit overweight, and I was really out of shape, from practically doing nothing.
I'm sorry, I can't imagine you being overweight.
yeah, it's crazy. I can show you some photos, but so I started working with that PT, and I remember I'd go to the gym, and I was also working in Dapto. So I'd be up at 4 a.m. I'd drive an hour and a half down to Dapto. I'd work my 12-hour day, drive home, and get to the gym for 8 p.m.
Fuck.
And I'd do my session. So I just committed to that. So
if I was your PT and you wanted to lock in a session at 8 p.m., I'd be like, sorry, bro, I'm home by that time.
Yeah. Testament to that guy working at 8 p.m.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Good on him.
He was brilliant. And I think
Isaac?
I had him.
So Isaac, he's a PT at our gym, just works till night time, all hours.
But so I think I had him for 3 days a week, and then I just went every day myself. I didn't realize how strong a mindset I had. It just, the more I went, the more I was going to get out of it. So every day I'd go, and then I'd come down and go into the change room, and I'd see my stomach going pretty much, and I'd see myself getting in shape, and it was a big confidence booster. So I started to feel better in all areas of my life as well, and I started looking at other things like how have I been holding myself back, and what are the things I'm fearful of that I need to overcome. So I ended up in the middle of that writing a list of things I was fearful of, and one of them was actually having a fight. I wanted to fight.
Oh wow.
So I signed up for a fight with what are they called in the city? Corporate fight gym.
Oh yeah. What is it like?
Corporate fighter.
Yeah,
it's like a white collar boxing thing. Yeah, so signed up for that, and so I kind of got myself in shape with the PT. I signed up for that, and then I did 12 weeks with that fight gym training for this fight, and then I had that fight, and I won that fight.
Oh wow!
And then that's what led me on to going. I actually went to Bali first before Thailand. So another thing I was fearful of was to travel alone. So never gone anywhere on my own before. So I said, right, I'm gonna go somewhere that I want to go. So I went to a training camp in Bali first of all, which was called Training for Warriors at the time. It's closed down now. And then I found that little good spot in Canggu, and where all the other gyms are, and came back from there, and then went from there to Thailand training. Wow. So just kept going with it. Yeah. So
are you still doing martial arts at the moment?
No, I've done a good lot of it. So after that, I would do about 2 or 3 trips a year to either Thailand or Bali and just train. And I did that probably for about 3 years. And then I guess I just probably started my own business and got a bit busier. And
so how long ago was that you?
That's probably
the fighting part.
2016.
Okay.
So
oh wow.
What's that?
What were you doing for work at the time?
Working in construction still.
So you're still doing that?
So I had actually quit my job. So it was a lot going on in my life at that time. So I was working in construction, and then I went back. I was completely depressed. I just hit that point of like I don't know what to do with myself. So the reason I went back to Ireland was to be around my family for a bit of support. So when I got back there, I got a bit of support from them, and they gave me a bit of guidance. And it was my brother was kind of saying, look, go back to Sydney, go to a gym, blah blah blah. So then I got this goal of, okay, I'm gonna go and do that. So when I came back to Sydney, I decided also, okay, I don't want, like, construction is something I don't want to do. I want to change my life. I don't know what the fuck I want to do. I had no idea. So I said, I'm going to quit my job, and I said, I'm not going to get a job until I figure out what I want to do.
Wow.
So I had a good lot of money in the bank from working in construction. So I said, right, I'm going to take as long as I need off, and I made that commitment to myself. So signing up for the fight and all that was good because it kept me busy, and going to the gym and all that kind of stuff. And I ended up taking 4 months off work, trying
what a holiday.
Yeah, it was awesome. And I
need a 4 month holiday.
Yeah, it's pretty good. And,
we'll go to Thailand. Yeah.
And when I said I wrote that list of fears of things that were holding me back in my life, I said I'm never going to be able to figure out what I want to do if I'm held back by fear. I need to overcome that and kind of conquer it a bit. I also wrote a list of things I thought I was interested in. And I said, if I'm going to figure out what I want to do in my life, I need to go and pursue this list of things too. So while I was training and getting fit, I was ticking away the list of fears, and I was also every day pursuing the things I was interested in. So one of those things was flying. I used to always be at work and I'd look at the airplanes flying overhead. So I went to Bankstown and I started doing my pilot's license.
Holy shit.
Yeah. And
I fucking commend you.
Yeah. And I got up to an RPL, so recreational pilot's license. And kind of, while that was happening, I was training, and people were like seeing this guy that was, let's say, 2 months ago, like completely out of shape and the biggest partier ever, to like now I'm getting in shape, I'm off the booze, I'm doing flying lessons, I'm doing all this other shit. I'd go to the library every single day and read books. I'd never read a book before in my life. I was like, and I felt like I dropped out of school, I had no education. So I was using that as a story all the time to hold myself back and not change. Whereas I flipped that on its head and going, if I'm going to fucking do something in my life, I need to educate myself, and I'm responsible, not the fact that I didn't maybe get the guidance to stay in school or whatever. So I just would go to the library every single day and read books and study and go to Bankstown and just train, and that was it. That was just my life. And yeah, it just started changing in all areas and moving on from there. So
can you write a book? Because I'd read it.
Fuck, that's actually so sick.
Yeah,
I'm shook, man. That's awesome.
Here.
Yeah,
no, respect. Like, fuck.
That's awesome.
I like that you read out all the fears and.
I think I might actually implement that.
Yeah. Well,
the
it's
whole
just
writing down your fears thing. That really resonates with me. For sure.
That's something that I love because, like, as like we do. Like, I journal. Like, I try to as much as I can, and I think it's so good because even just like writing down not even the fears, like what you're grateful for, automatically changes the perspective of your day. It's like, what are you grateful for? And like usually mine can be very similar, but like a big ones that I write down are just like, fuck, I got a bed, I got a car. I'm like, oh, you read that and like, oh, that doesn't mean anything, but really it means a lot. I have basic necessities that
why didn't I think of that? We spoke about this before. All I was doing when I was journaling was I'm grateful for Marie and Missy, and
but even so,
I don't know, maybe fucking
chocolate bars.
I couldn't think of anything. I was like the same thing every day, but it put me in a good kind of like headspace.
You got to think about it, and as well, just what you're saying, I like that. I do it myself, and I think the reason for gratitude as well in your journal is you want to. It creates abundance mindset as opposed to scarcity. Scarcity is, oh fuck, I'm not going to earn enough money from my job. I'm blah 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 blah. Haven't got this, haven't got that. When you're grateful for things, you're creating abundance. Fuck, I have this in my life. I have that in my life. I have the other. And when you get into that mindset, you attract more good things to you. So it's really important. But just with that, Mikey, as well, if you create emotion through your gratitude, so rather than just writing down, I'm grateful for this bottle of water right here, and not really putting any emotion in it, it's emotion that drives action. So if you think about, fuck, I really had a nice time with Marie this morning or last night, and think about and living that experience.
Pinpoint that moment.
It's a good way to think about it. Yeah. I think.
You go.
I was just going to say, I think like to kind of put this into my life. One of the things that I've started this year was obviously triathlon, And that all goes back to, wasn't really like writing down a list or anything. It was just step outside your comfort zone wherever possible. And this was exhibit fucking B, like doing a podcast. Never once got I speak in front of people. I mean, if you've listened to our first episode, you could watch me literally like testy pop every second. Like my voice is breaking. Not sure what to do. And it's funny because like a friend of mine like always gives me a lot of shit. Jesus.
Sorry. He's still happy. Because like whenever I say something, I like just go and do it. And they're always like, oh, like for some reason the world fucking likes you, and you're like, I'm gonna go do this, and the world presents it right to me. It's like, it's just because my attitude and my mentality towards it. It's like the things that I've done in my life, you know, I've said I'm gonna go to Thailand. I did it. I'm gonna start a podcast. And bro, it was so funny. I shit you not. The boys behind the camera messaged me literally as soon as we started talking about doing a podcast, and I was getting advice from them because they already had one, and like it just the world presented them to me. And now we're here. You know?
Well, exactly. Just what I was saying. You that's why it's important with you attract what you feel. If you don't feel it, you don't attract it. So so you got to feel what you want to do too. You know, it's important.
So where's your training now? So you did the fighting. You started with a few runs. You did a half marathon, and you did a fight. And where are you now with your training?
And then so from that I just went further and further into like at the time I felt like I had very low self-esteem for a large part of my life, and I didn't want to live like that. I wanted to feel like I had the confidence and the strength to do whatever I wanted to do. So I just kept going. So I went from getting myself in shape, doing the fight, to went on to running some marathons and quite competitively, and I ended up winning a marathon in Lake Mayall, I think it is, up on the Central Coast, and then went on to ultra marathons, and then into Ironmans, and
how long is an ultra marathon?
Yeah, so give us the differences.
So anything above a standard marathon, which is 42 kilometers, is classed at an ultra marathon.
Okay.
So,
and then what's an Ironman?
What was the sorry to go with one more step. What was the longest distance ultra marathon?
The longest I've done is 50 k's. Yeah. But that would be up. Ultra marathons generally as well are up and down mountains. Yeah. So the longest I've done is 50, but it was you run up. That particular run was up Mount Kosciuszko twice. So you run
twice.
Yeah, twice.
Not once, twice.
So you start in Charlotte's Pass, and you run to the top, and then
the Irish David Goggins in front of us.
Yeah,
I love this.
I'll do that with my car.
And then you progressed to Ironman, did you say?
And then just kept pushing myself to do anything that was like that uncomfortable or could harden my mind a bit more. And look, I got to a point where I was pushing myself too hard, way too hard, and hadn't got a good balance, and wasn't kind to myself, like if ever a bit of self-doubt would come into my mind, or when I'd be running, I'd feel a bit, like, fuck, you need to slow down a bit or something. Like I was probably like David Goggins, and I think that's actually an unhealthy way to be now looking back, because I've been on both ends of the spectrum, And, then I started kind of, the self-talk would have been, come on, you fucking piece of shit, push it on, or whatever, And I don't think it's good to be talking to yourself like that all the time. There's always going to be that inner person that wants to quit and stuff, and need to know how to overcome that. But it can't be like, you can't be so hard on yourself. I think that's a lot of a problem for people that are, get themselves in shape, and then trying to keep themselves in shape. You see people in the gym that have this amazing physique, but they're not happy internally.
They're just punishing themselves.
Yeah.
Like we like to say.
You got to have a balance.
Yeah.
And,
I think it shows up for us a lot in our business.
Yeah.
Because we're like, oh shit, we need to be better. You're shit. We're not doing well.
Yeah.
It's like, bro, we're doing pretty good.
Yeah.
Like, like we're doing okay. You know what I mean? Like it's that constant fighting the mind. It's like, push on, do better. But don't also kill yourself because you're not where you want to be. Otherwise, you'll never really be happy with where you are.
Yeah, look, don't miss out on the journey as well. And it's easy. It's very easy to say that. But one big game changer for me last year was saying to myself, be less impressed with where you're going and more involved. So we get so impressed with where we'd like to be. Yeah, and we miss out on where we are, and that reflects in everything we're doing. It reflects on the clients that we're training, because we're just thinking about the next client, or whatever, or it misses out on the podcast that you're doing because you're thinking about the next podcast, or how many people are going to gonna download it. No, you should just be here and enjoying this, and that's it. And when
I guess I'm kind of we are guilty of that as well.
Oh, 100%.
We talk about it all the time.
I know it all.
We want to do this, we want to do that. But I guess we kind of we do live in the moment a little bit, I guess. But I'm definitely guilty.
No, look, we can always
mindset.
be better, I guess. I think it's important because, as we said this time last year, we had none of what we do now, and it's really cool to see.
Yeah, it's awesome. Yeah, no, all these things come with time anyway.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so you went from ultra marathons to then Ironman.
I went from ultra marathons, and then I won that marathon, and then I went from there to an ultra marathon, and then I actually injured my back.
Okay,
so that threw a spanner in the works. And alongside that, I don't know if that's something you want to chat about now. I decided I was going to cycle across Australia.
Yeah.
Please do tell.
So
we'll come back to the ultra the Ironman stuff. I love these stories. So go and tell us all about it, please.
Yeah, so I went from I was doing the ultras and that, and then I injured my back. But just before I injured my back, a friend had asked me. I'd met this guy who was cycling to Ireland, and
Ireland
from Sydney.
Okay,
how's that work?
So you cycle across Australia, you fly to Vietnam, and then you cycle from Vietnam through Thailand, Cambodia, Myanmar, Nepal, India, and then on the way up into
his Google Maps
Pakistan
better be
and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, it's 28 countries. Then you go through Europe, and you get the boat from France to the UK, and then cycle across the UK, and then the UK to Ireland. So
you take what? One plane, one boat,
one plane, and two boats.
Yeah. Fuck.
Or one boat. Yeah, that's it.
That is mind blowing.
So I met this guy that was doing that, and I told my friend about it, and he's an Irish guy, obviously the guy who was doing it, and my friend was an Irish bloke, so he said, "Fuck, I want to do that," and he was really keen, and he was like, I was like, "Fuck, you want to do a bit of training for that, whatever." So I was like, maybe you'd want to cycle to Newcastle some weekend. And at the time, I'll be up for anything, anything that was hard. I was like, I'll do it, So I was like, I'll cycle to Newcastle. He's like, yeah, you want to do more than Newcastle? He's like, you want to cycle across Australia? Would you do that? And I was like, yeah, no worries. So we both planned that we were going to cycle across Australia in preparation for him to cycle back to Ireland.
Yeah.
The following year. So in the meantime of that, he decided that he wanted to do it like a year later.
Yeah.
A year after that. But I had it in my head that
I was doing it,
and that was it.
Yeah.
So I said, fuck it, I'll do it on my own. Now, I had never really done any cycling other than cycling to school as a kid.
I'm shook.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Could you imagine just getting to Ireland? It's like, oh, how'd you get here? Oh, yeah, cycling.
Well, that's it. My cycle across Australia seems very small in comparison to cycling to Ireland. Yeah. So I had it in my head that I was going to do it the following year, and I just started preparing for it, and like the way you would do that is you cycle. You've got it's self-sufficiently, so you've no support crew. You have to carry everything on your bike, so sleeping bag, tent, your food, water, everything, cooking equipment, clothes, everything on your push bike. So started getting myself organised for that. I'd never camped before in my life either, so it's all going to be completely new. And,
I like the attitude though.
I was like, I'm going to do it. So that was 9 months from the date we said, got it in our head. 9 months later, I went and did it, but I had that back injury at the time, so when I was supposed to be training for the cycle, I couldn't train. I couldn't do anything because I had herniated 5 discs in my back.
Oh, fuck.
Yeah.
So I still was adamant I was going to do it. So I got all my gear together and I was getting myself ready to go. And on the date I said I was going to do it, which was on the 6th of September 2018, I flew to Perth with my bike in a box and all my gear. And then I flew 900 k's north to a place called Shark Bay. So I wanted to go from the furthest point west back to Sydney, so the furthest point in the west, which is Shark Bay, and cycled from there back to Sydney.
Is it across, like literally you go, if you were to look at a map, it's straight across, like? So
you gotta cycle down first, so from Shark Bay you gotta cycle down 500 k's to Geraldton, and then you come across, and then you cycle down, so you go across to kind of Kalgoorlie or Southern Cross, and then you go down to Norseman, and then you go across again. So it's kind of down, across, down. I still
get mind blown by this fucking.
Yeah. So tell us about it. How was it? How long did it take? And
Yeah, so it took me 59 days to do. In total, it's 4,770 kilometers, and so keep in mind, so I'd never camped before or done anything like that, you know. So I went from that morning in my nice apartment in Little Bay, looking out at the ocean, to landing on a dirt road in Shark Bay, because it was in a little charter plane. So I flew to Perth, and then I got on a little charter plane with 12 other people to fly north, 900 k's north, and they land on this little dirt runway with a galvanized shed there, and I just had my bike in a box, and the guy was like, "Hey, you going, Mike? There's just one guy there," and he's like, "Do you want to lift into town?" And I was like, "No, I've got a bike in this box here. I'm gonna fucking cycle." And he's like, "Oh fuck, I don't know what."
I'd react the exact same way.
So he just took off, and the plane took off, and then that was it. That was just me left on the side of the road. So you can imagine the difference between being in your nice apartment that morning to now being in this situation. So took my bike out of my box, put it all together, put all the gear on it, and started cycling. So I cycled into Shark Bay town that night, and I stayed there that night in a campsite. So the next day I was officially starting my actual cycle, and I started my cycle the next day, and it was just like dead straight roads, just scrub bush and just red dirt. There was nothing, like, and nobody.
What was going through your head that that night in the campsite before you officially kicked off? Like, what was going through your head? Like,
that
thinking the next day you're gonna
that night, nothing much. That because it was a shock to the system, but it wasn't too bad because it was there was people around, in that campsite. But the next day when I started cycling, I cycled 74 kilometers, and now I'm in the middle of nowhere, like completely in the middle of nowhere.
Whole day? Any breaks?
No, I'll probably stop for lunch. I think I stopped for lunch, and I had to cook. I'd have to cook my own lunch, get out a little gas stove.
I remember watching the stories and stuff. You got like Paul with fucking zip ties coming out of his helmet from the Magpies, and he's got his little gas cooker, and he's cooking like what, rice noodles and shit like this. Stuff, it was so crazy.
So the what you do every day is you just cycle as far as you can, and until sunset. So from sun up to sunset you cycle, that's it, all day. And then at night you just wheel your bike into the bush wherever you are, because you can't be like, oh shit, I don't like it here, I'll just drive an extra 100 kilometers or 50 kilometers. You just have to camp there because you can't cycle in the dark, with the road trains.
Yeah.
So that next day, so I left the campsite, and then I cycled as far as I could, and where I finished looked exactly same as where I started. It was just bush and dirt, and so just wheeled my bike into the scrub, and a goat actually jumped out, wild goat. So I was like, fuck, I'm in the middle of nowhere. Jumped out from the scrub bush beside me, and I set up my camp for the night, and I cooked a bit of dinner, and I got into the tent, and that's just it, and that just became my life for the next 59 days. But I was in the tent that night, and I just started freaking out, going, what the fuck am I doing? This is nuts. Like, I've cycled 74 kilometers was what I cycled the first day. I started going, it's 4,770 kilometers. It's like, how long is this going to fucking take me? And what the fuck am I doing? It's just all going through my head, and I just started to cry. I was fucking just became a little bitch and started crying. I got completely overwhelmed. It was the first time I've probably cried for years. Just completely overwhelmed with it, because I knew I was committed to it, but I didn't fully think through about how hard it was going to be. And cycling as well, with my bike weighed about 60 kilos with all the stuff on it. It's heavy. It was hard. It's fucking hard, and you've got the headwind blowing at you all day as well. So I just started crying, and then I was like, you can't think of it like this. I was like, break it down in your mind. So I was like, how far is it? I was like, it's 4,770 kilometers. Okay. I was like, what have I done today? 74. I was like, okay. I started calculating it out on my phone. How long will it take if I do 74 or whatever? And it came up to be like maybe 3 months or something like that at that pace, or 2.5 months. I was like, right, from now on, just focus on cycling one day and doing 80 kilometers, and that's it. Don't think about how many days it's going to take you. It broke down into days. Don't think about anything else, because when you get overwhelmed, and this is a thing for a lot of people, and I've carried this forward in my life, overwhelm is the thief of execution. When you're overwhelmed, you don't do anything. So you can never feel overwhelmed in any area of your life doing anything. So I had to break it down. So I was like, every day I'm just going to focus on doing 80 Ks. So I did that for the first 500 kilometers. I never thought about how far I was going, how many days it was. I just focused on doing 80 Ks per day, every day. And sure enough, I'd got to 1,000 kilometers, and then I started going, fuck, I've done 1,000 kilometers now. It seemed a bit more manageable then. and I started feeling a bit better about it, and it became a bit more achievable. Yeah, but what's funny also is a little story about that. What was when I'd meet people, every person I'd meet, you looked so out of place because you're on this bike, you're carrying all your gear, you're wearing a big cowboy hat, and from the sun, you know, and everyone goes, "Fuck, where are you going? You're in the middle of nowhere," you know, and all you see on the road is road trains and grey nomads. That's it. And people are like, when they do see it, and they say, "Where are you going?" And I'm like, "I'm cycling to Sydney," and they go, I start laughing. They go, "Fucking hell, do you know how far that is?" and I'd be like, "Yeah, I know how far it is." And they're like, "Fuck, you know, you're crazy. You're never going to get there." Blah blah blah. So that would happen right in the beginning, when I have 4,700 kilometers to go, and then, you know, I'd have 4,500 kilometers to go. I'd meet another person that'd say the same story. "Fuck, do you know that far that is? Blah blah. You're never going to get there," whatever. Then I'd have 4,000 kilometers to go, 3,000, 2,000, 1,000. I'm still meeting people and say, "Where are you going?" I say, "I'm going to Sydney." And they said, "You the fuck, do you know how far that is? You're never going to get there. Jesus Christ, you're in a push bike, whatever."
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Yeah, I know."
I've already cycled fucking 3,000.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Even when I was getting to like 200 or 300 kilometers from Sydney, people were still asking that, but not one person asked me how far I came.
Yeah.
And it was just a good thing to remember about life, and I suppose for you and your business too, is like nobody's going to look at how far you've come. They always want to know where you aspire to be and put you down for it, you know. So yeah, things like that really make you they're really hard in your mind for other areas in life too. So
When you saw like New South Wales, what was your like thoughts?
Fuck. I can't even remember. I think I was just over it probably at that point. I just didn't even.
Yeah. Did you cycle like home? Like
straight back to my house.
Yeah, I remember.
He was there. Mikey was there.
I wasn't there at the house. I was there. Did I go to the house actually? I can't remember.
I think you were there. Oh no, you weren't there at Marie.
No,
you were
Marie
there
was
after,
there,
were you?
So I even remember there was one moment where Marie came home and almost in hysterics, like, we can't get a hold of Paul. No one's heard of Paul. Like, something's wrong. Usually he checks in. So like they were on the phone to the local sheriff's department and stuff. Like, and then like a day later, Paul was saying that, you know, it's just like cops roared up behind him. You know, you're a very wanted person. He's just like jumps off his bike. What's going on?
I'd been missing for 2 days. So
did your phone die or something?
No, so there's no reception when you're going across the Nullarbor. Well, there would be in a car if you're, you know, there might be no reception for 300 kilometers or something, you know, but in a car you'd travel that in a day. But when you're on a push bike, it takes you 2 days to cycle 300 kilometers, you know, to get reception. So
there was like a missing person.
There was a missing point, So people were obviously trying to contact me. I had no reception. They couldn't get through, and I was just cycling. And I knew in my head, I was like, fuck, people are going to be looking for me because I had no contact with anyone for that 2 days. And every day I would, you know, check in with someone. And just a bit of context for people listening to this, Mikey goes out with my cousin Marie. So Mikey knew where I was or knew what was going on. So I was constantly been checking in with people, but hadn't checked in with anyone, and I was just cycling as normal, and seeing this cop car coming. I was like, fuck that, what the fuck are they doing out here? Because it was in the middle of the Nullarbor, in the middle of nowhere, and you haven't seen anyone for so long. All these weird things are going through your head, and I was wearing a cowboy hat at the time, so I wasn't wearing a helmet, you know, because you wouldn't meet anyone, and I just tried to keep the shade off me. So I started going in my head, I was like, I bet you they're going to fucking book me now, you know. And so I'm cycling along anyway, and the cops get closer to me, and I had a little mirror on the bike to look for when road trains were coming on the right hand side. So I looked in, when they went past, I looked in the mirror and I seen them turning around. I was like, fucking assholes, nothing better to be doing, you know. Who they have to see all day, only me, why are they going to pull me in? So they turned around. So immediately in my head I was like, I'm going to start cycling faster. I don't know what I was thinking. So I started cycling a little bit faster. They ended up turning on the lights. I pulled in. They got out with the ute, and the guy pulls out a book out of his shirt pocket. And I was like, fuck, I can't believe this. He's going to do me, you know. And he pulls out the notebook, and he just said, are you Paul Kilroy? And I said, I am. And he said, yeah, you're a wanted man. He goes, you've been on the missing persons list for like 24 hours or something. So that's crazy. And I was like, well, I'm all right. Tell him I'm all right.
That's crazy.
So yeah, it's mad.
Well, yeah, that's awesome, man. Like,
there's also one more thing that's pretty interesting as well. You can tell us about it. So there was a point where I was like, maybe it was the Nullarbor. There was like 2 days straight where you just cycled on the same road, and the view just never changed.
Yeah. So the Nullarbor is flat as a pancake. Yeah, and then there's no hills. It's 1,200 kilometers long the whole Nullarbor. So there's no towns across the Nullarbor as well. So I had to stock up on food in Norseman to do me for 12 days because the next town was Sejuna, and yeah, so there's just nothing there. But one part of it they call the 90-mile straight, so it's 140 something kilometers of it's dead flat, like this table, you know, and so it's blister and heat and all you can see. You can't see the end of the road. You can't, you know, you can't see the horizon. It's just that mirage kind of. So it's crazy. It's doing it on a push bike is mad. It's just really plays with your mind a bit. Yeah.
Okay, so moving on from that to firstly, I'm shook and that's fucking awesome. Congratulations for that. So you've done that. You do Ironmans now. Yeah.
Yeah, I've done two Ironmans. So I came back from cycling across Australia and I felt pretty good. So the next weekend after that,
I don't know how.
Yeah, I don't know how either. I thought I felt pretty good. I didn't.
Well, to be fair, right? Like, let's say you're looking at the thing. So for an Ironman is like 180 kilometers on the bike, just the bike. So if you're looking on paper, 180 kilometers. She's done 4,700.
Yeah, you're thinking it's going to be easy, you know. So there was an Ironman on the following weekend.
Oh, no worries.
So I was like,
let's go do one.
Yeah, I was like, I'm going to go and smash that. No problem. I'm just after cycling fucking 4,700 kilometers across Australia. It'll be easy. But yeah, it was hard. It was tough. That was really tough. So I did that, and I didn't do another one again for 2 years. That was just very challenging.
Yeah.
And yeah, and I was in bad shape after cycling across Australia anyway. Like I had to put a good couple of months into actually getting my body back right. I'd lost 8 kilos. I was just, you know, because it took so much out of me.
Yeah.
And I didn't do another Ironman for 2 years, and then I went on to do another one just a couple of months ago, and took about an hour and a half off my time. So I was happy with that. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So it was good.
And so how did you get into personal training? So Mike mentioned he helped you with boot camp. So how did all that get you into personal training?
So through the whole experience of, you know, just pushing from one thing to the next, and people seeing that I was doing all this stuff and changing for the better, you know, people started coming to me and opening up, going, you know, I'm really unhappy in my life or in my career or in my health or whatever, and I would just meet people and try and help them in any way I could, not necessarily in training, you know, just in any way. And I just really realized that when I came to life was when I was helping other people.
Yeah.
And I just decided that, right, I want to make a career out of that. And I figured the easiest way to start was through if I go and train. It's like I'm very good athletically myself, obviously. I was like, I can train other people and teach them how to be fit. So that was where I started, and I just hoped that it would lead me on to something, you know. So yeah, and it did. So that was
so now so you're still running boot camps?
Yeah, still running boot camps. So I started with just 6 people. I said I'm going to run a boot camp in the park after work. So I went back. I had gone back once I figured it out. Remember I said in the beginning I didn't want to go back to work until I'd figured out what I wanted to do. So I figured out that was what I wanted to do. So I said, right, I'm going to go back to construction, get some money coming in, and I'm going to start running boot camps after when I finish work, you know, in the evenings. So I advertised the boot camp, 5-week boot camp, and I got 6 people for it. And I said, I'm going to give these people my all. And I did that for 5 weeks, and then I advertised another one, and the next one I got 23, and then the next one I got 40 something.
Wow.
And then I quit my job, and that was it.
And that was it. That was the start of Paul Kilroy's boot camps.
Yeah.
And you run those full time now?
Full time, yeah. So that's all I do, yeah. And
plug yourself, man. Tell us more. Let the audience know where to find you and where they are.
Yeah, so in Kingsford, just in Roland Park in Kingsford. So I do boot camps there. I do classes multiple times a week, Monday, Wednesday, Fridays, morning and evening, 5:15 a.m, 6 a.m, and then 5:30 p.m. and 6:30 p.m. Then there's a class on a Thursday evening at 5:45 p.m. and a class on a Saturday morning at 7 a.m. And that's it.
And are they, so is it like do you have a certain like type of, I guess, niche that you hit? Is it like a certain style of training? Are you looking for a certain type of person? Is it?
Not really, it's for anyone, but what what I majorly work with is Irish people.
Oh, cool.
The reason being was I figured it was a good market to start with, me being Irish and people knowing what I was doing at the time, and it's just grown from there. So predominantly it's about 90% Irish, but I do have good few Aussies, good few English and Scottish as well. So
me personally, when I was doing Paul's boot camps, it was all Irish and then one Aussie. It was just me. It's like, who's this Aussie guy?
Who's this guy? Yeah.
How are you structuring the workouts? Is it like is like a Monday a hit? Is a Tuesday a strength or something like that?
So usually what I'll do is I'll take people on board for like a 12-week period, let's say. So you can join up anytime. But usually we do like a 12-week block. So we'll do 8 weeks of like strength focused type of training. So we'll do, let's say 4 weeks or 3 weeks of hypertrophy. Then we'll do a week of strength, maybe 3 weeks of the same, and then a week of strength. And then we'll go in. So we'll try and get people building muscle and getting them strong.
Yeah, build a base.
You build a base, and correct their form and stuff like that. And then for the next 4 weeks of that, we'll do conditioning style training.
Cool.
So stuff that's a bit hardcore, so get them to lose body fat and weight, and then they look very well physically at the end of it. So that's
it was a lot of fun. I remember doing it. It was a lot of fun. I used to come. It was like I said, it was my kind of way to do some kind of fitness while I was in construction. I just remember being like, fuck. Eventually I just remember being so fit. I don't remember that I was like, I don't remember what I looked like at all, but I do remember being like, fuck, these are just getting easier and easier, and I'm like fucking killing it. It was actually a lot of fun. I do remember that.
Well, look, that's the big thing I try and focus on, and even with me marketing and stuff, definitely for the people that's there, is just making it fun and and giving people a place where they can be themselves. You know, when we're at work, we have to be a certain way, do certain things, we have to whatever, we seldom have time just to chill out and have a bit of a laugh during the week. So I take my training really seriously, but if I see people laughing, I judge that as a bigger measure than
for sure,
you know, how many reps they're doing, or you know, I don't care so much about that stuff. It's just to make people have fun and really focus on the community aspect of it. Like this morning I had a class at 7 a.m. You know, we all did a workout together, and then we all went for a swim after together, and then we all went for a coffee and breakfast together. And that's just the standard. And like last week or 2 weeks ago, we did a surf camp weekend up on the Central Coast. So we hired surf instructors, took them out surfing and went camping, and just try and create a nice environment for people to be in, you know.
I think like people really attract to that.
Yeah.
I think when they feel like they're part of something that's like sort of just more than themselves, they thrive off that. It's community. I think like one thing, I think something like CrossFit does really well, community. Like when I was doing it, I was like, fuck, like I really feel like I'm part of something. You know what I mean? And I can see why people get attached to this and find it so addicting, and I guess it'd be very similar to why people love your boot camps.
100%. And if I remember, I worked with a business coach before, and it was very true what he said: 3 good parts to any good business, any good coaching business, I guess. And 1 is coaching, 2 is accountability, and 3 is community. If you don't have one of those things in it, and a lot of them where people are missing is community, you're not going to have a successful business. People are not coming to you just to lift weights or to, you know, just to tell them how to eat healthy. They're there for that community aspect of it, because you know, you either pat them on the back, you're asking them about their life, and you're genuinely interested in it, or you're giving them a place just for them to be themselves and unwind a bit and have a laugh. It's really important for people.
I love that. I spoke about one of my influences being David Goggins, and obviously you remind me well of him. Is there anyone that you kind of idolized or looked up to prior to getting into fitness now?
I suppose now I try and keep, I'm very old fashioned now. I think I've learned a lot through life, but I try and keep my circle very small and my outside influence very small as well. Very aware of who I let in and who I don't in terms of influencing me. So influence now would be number 1, my brother.
Older or younger?
Older. And number 2, a friend who's just a very good parent. That's it. Probably 2. I want to become a good parent, and I want to be as good a person as my brother is in really his life too, and that's it. Don't look at all, you know, you can get lost in comparing yourself to other people on social media. Definitely. But if you step back from that, you say, I don't want that for my fucking life anyway. It's just crap or irrelative. So before I would have looked up to lots of different people, and you always do at different points in times in your life, but I guess internally you build place of you get happy with yourself and
Yeah.
you look up to genuinely who you just, you know, aspire to be a little bit better.
Yeah,
for
and
yourself,
it's interesting as well because sometimes the people that you want to be more like are just like the people that are closest to you anyway.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, we connect to people we're like or want to be like. You know?
Yeah.
So, it's no point looking at other people who you think are, you know, you think they're doing unreal.
Yeah.
And I probably learned that through cycling across Australia as well. I remember I was following all these fitness guys. Now I've just come off a break on social. We've been off social media for 6 months.
Wow.
Which has been awesome. Fucking awesome. Yeah, and brilliant. And as well, another thing about that too is you think in the fitness industry you got to be on social media to run your business. I had my most profitable quarter from January to March this year with no social media.
Wow.
In all my years of business. So it just goes to show you don't actually need it.
Yeah.
But yeah, you when I was cycling across Australia, I was following all these fitness people and blah, 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 and I seen this guy in the gym and he's lifting weights, and I used to have my phone sitting on the handlebar, so because I'd be cycling all day, whenever I had a reception I'd scroll through social media or whatever because it was just boring, you know. So just be cycling and scrolling, looking at something or watching something on YouTube or whatever. And I was seeing this guy and he's come up and he's lifting all these weights or he's in the gym and he's doing whatever he's doing, and I started going insecure on myself. When you spend that long with yourself, you hear every single thing in your mind, you know, everything. There's no escaping yourself. You can hear everything a lot more clearer. So I started hearing myself going, fucking hell, you're never going to be like him. Look at him in the gym and blah, blah, look at this business he's running and blah, blah, and all this. And then I just said, what the fuck are you doing? I was like, you're cycling across Australia. I was like, who's the tougher one? I was like, not that it's a comparison thing, but it's fucking you.
Yeah.
So it just goes to show if you have that outside influence all the time, you're looking at all those people, you're comparing to them, no matter how strong a person you are, no matter what you're doing, you take the focus away from yourself and you put it on someone else, and it's unhelpful for you in a business or in life or in anything when you're focusing on anything external other than internal. And where focus goes, energy flows. So if you're focusing on something else, your energy is going to go there, and you want to keep as much energy as you need for you in your life to go forward, to push you on and to drive you to where you want to be, you know. So yeah, number one thing is probably keep focused on yourself, and I just live with that now. So
man, I like it. I like your attitude. It's good. It's very refreshing to listen to.
Definitely inspiring as well. This will probably be one of our last questions for today.
It's all right.
So you've cycled across the country. You've done Ironmans, ultra marathons, fucking God knows what. What's next for Paul Kilroy? As an athlete, I guess as a coach as well.
As an athlete, now at the minute I'm going, this is probably not what you want to hear, but
Paul's taking a break.
yeah, well, not taking a break, but I've pretty much just finished that Ironman a couple of weeks ago, and I did 8 weeks back in the gym to just get a bit of strength back up. I'm vegan as well, so don't build much muscle when you're vegan. You do if you're interested and really want to eat your protein. But I just did 8 weeks back in the gym to get a bit of strength back. Didn't take the diet that seriously in terms of the protein and building muscle, but I feel a lot stronger. And for the next 8 weeks, I'm going to do yoga to get my back right.
Yeah. Well,
so
that's fair enough.
I've never properly fixed my back in a sense. It still gives me bother, so I'm going to do 8 weeks of yoga to try and conquer that, and then it'll be on to the next thing. And as a coach, what's next? I'm not entirely sure, and I couldn't give you a straight answer on that because I'm at a bit of a change in my own life at the minute, and I'm starting to think about what that might be, and I'm not entirely sure. I've done the whole online thing before, and I've had a big business, I would say, in terms of most coaches online, and because I've done so long off social media, I'm not sure if it's something I want to go back doing to try and generate more business online and build up my client base. So I'm not entirely sure.
Yeah. Okay.
That's fair enough.
Yeah. In October this year, we're heading off traveling around Australia in a camper van, myself and Katrina. So we're doing 6 months. Going to do a full lap of Australia for 6 months. So I don't know. In time, we'll
See how you go.
I'm glad you're going to be in a camp event and stuff.
Yeah, at least just
Awesome. And we also like to finish the show on a little lighter notes. The dumb, or not dumb, I guess, just the funny shit you see in the gym.
Yeah, well, I guess you train in the gym sometimes, but you can even talk about the park. What like shit you see in the park that you're like kind of questionable. You're like, I don't know about that. But even in the gym, like, give us some of your best ones.
Some of the best ones in the gym.
Put you on the spot here.
Fuck. I'll tell you a good one the other night. She might listen to this too. She's a girl under the bus. I was trying to get this girl at my boot camp to do push-ups the other night, and we're always just about having a laugh. And it was a dive bomb push-up. Have you ever seen those ones?
Yeah.
Come through with your head down by your hands. You're working your shoulders, so she couldn't do them anyway, but she could do the worm. And so she just started doing the worm across the park instead.
Me personally, I think I posted on my Instagram last night.
Yeah, that was good.
I don't know, how do I verbalize it? It was like a guy trying to squat, and when he came up, he would like
snap his hips,
like thrust himself. And how good was the music, by the way?
Oh yeah, it was beautiful. It was amazing.
You see my Instagram; it was pretty fucking hilarious. Anything you've seen?
I've seen one on social media, like, just like, look, I think group classes, nothing against it. Like, I think group classes is awesome, but, and I think something that, you would even look at is, like, obviously technique's very important. And what pisses me off is that when, like I seen this female group style training classes, and they're like doing like, their sumo deadlifts and, but then they're like going from a sumo deadlift with, by the way, terrible form, into like just like some sort of like, I seen this, it was like a plank, but then they had like a booty band around their legs, and they were doing like jumping jacks, like in a plank position. And I was like, what are you doing? Like, where are you getting any sort of glute work there? And like, how do you think this is going to get you stronger?
Yeah, the group classes that we see in Fitness First in particular are definitely not technique focused.
Yeah, well, you're right. It's not, people are just like, oh, well, people are here to just do a class and whatever, and it's just a class. I'm not going to help people with their technique. And people usually in those settings have such bad on it, and it's cringe-worthy.
Because you're also
people are going to hurt themselves too,
People think the first way to get fit is to do a class, which is fine, but
you need to get your form and technique right.
So you're attracting more of a general population which wouldn't have a good idea on how to do these exercises. Yeah. That's why F45 kind of annoys me.
Well, that is funny. One of my brother's mates actually asked me about that, and I'm like, look, man, I actually don't have anything against it. Some of the movements they do are very questionable. Like, I've seen some things they call like frog or whatever they call, I don't know, like just some really questionable stuff that I'm like, okay, fine. But it's like, where I guess it's kind of upsetting is because you're very much luck of the draw you get in terms of like especially like the coaches that are running the classes. You might get a coach like yourself who's running a class who has some general idea about, or more than a general idea about training and technique and what certain things should look like. And then you might get someone who's just got their Cert 3 and does this on weekends and has no idea.
Yeah. And as well, I think you see a lot of the time in those classes too, is people doing exercises that theoretically look great or sound great, but
when you put them into action under fatigue,
and are is that the best exercise to get a person a result that they want? Like a fucking squat's a squat at the end of the day. Leave it at that.
Oh, fuck.
You know what I mean?
So you open up a can of worms. That pisses me off, man.
I mean, some people can't even do that right.
One of my best mates owns an F45 in New Zealand. And he put up like a post, I give him shit for it all the time, on how to do a staggered stance squat. So it's like 1 foot flat-footed, the other one's on the toe, a little bit further behind. I'm like, fuck, man, I would struggle to do that, and I have great mobility.
Yeah.
If you put that into a 45 second on, 15 seconds rest, as hard as you can, for people that wouldn't even have a clue how to do that shit, it riles me out. It pisses me right off. Just leave it as a fucking normal squat.
Yeah, that's it.
I think that's
we'll leave it at that.
That's episode 10. Paul, thank you very much for coming on the show, man. That was actually very, very interesting very inspiring. It was
Yeah,
actually great.
yeah, that was
I took
awesome.
I actually took a lot away from that. So thank you very much.
Where can people find you? I mean, you're back on social media.
Back on social media now. So Paul Kilroy Coaching, and you'll get me on Facebook and Instagram. And I also have a podcast called The Irish Life Down Under. So,
Oh, beautiful.
Oh, awesome.
Heaps of, I do life coaching as well. So it's all on mindset really, and goes through a lot of the stuff I've done and lessons learned from them, and how people can take those lessons and use them in their life to their advantage as well. So
That's awesome, man. Thanks for coming on.
no worries. Thanks, guys.
Thank you for listening to the Coachcast. Make sure you follow us on Instagram at Coachcast and Coach Mike Stevens.
And if you guys are interested in any sort of coaching at all, please DM us. Mine is at Coach Jackson Mansoudi. If you have any feedback, please DM us as well. We would love that.
Thank you.